yeah, so obviously Koya and RM, my guys. So yeah, so I wanted to make Lexi, what are you doing? He's under his stand around the corner, giving me crazy eyes. I might have to start the video again, it's too distracting. Hi everyone, I'm Ray the BTS crafter. Today we're going to make something that is really, I want to say, familiar to me and what I used to do and what my creative business used to be based around. So we're going to make this Koya, the websites I've seen call it a parfait. I would maybe call it a Sundae. I don't know, but it's an item that was available in the BT21 Café in Japan. I don't know if it was available in Korea, but definitely Japan. And when I saw it, obviously I love Koya and RM, and when I saw it I was like, oh, that is so perfect for me to make. And it was actually the first tutorial I kind of wanted to do. The cat is jumping all over the place. So I thought I definitely want to make this. It's definitely familiar to me and what I used to make for my business. And then after I closed my business and had a little spurt at crafting a few years ago, doing something completely different, I ended up buying a lot of these little glass domes like this. That looks okay. And they are real glass. That's really bad ASMR. A bit better.
ASMR 이런 거 하잖아.
Yeah, they are real glass. And I went through a phase of making like little taxidermy scenes, which I know is like completely different to my business, which was very colourful. But yeah, I really like taxidermy butterflies and things. I've got quite a few taxidermy butterflies and bugs around the place, and I really love them. I think they're really beautiful. So this is one of the items that I designed and made using the same glass dome that I'm going to use for the Koya Parfait, which is this. Try and, yeah. It's a little it's a little crow or magpie skull, I suppose, and so yeah, so those are the sorts of things that I was making, which is completely different to the crafts I'm going to do on my YouTube channel, and completely different to sorry, the pigeons are fighting. I don't know if you can see them or hear them. The pigeons are fighting. And the window as well. I had a creative business between 2004 and 2013 called Girl from Blue City, and it evolved over the years, but the majority of the years and my main success and what I did full time was like replica sweets and biscuits and things like that. So I'll show you. I couldn't find much actually. I think there's quite a bit in the attic, but I couldn't find too much stuff, and I ended up selling a lot of it off in the end, but I still got a few bits lying around. So this is one of the bracelets that I used to make. It's a really tatty one. It's one I used to wear. This pick and mix. Oh, sorry, my light is. Move the light a bit. yeah, so so I used to make a lot of these every week. I used to sell mostly wholesale to other shops that I used to sell it on, and then I used to sell a little bit myself, but mostly it would go wholesale to bigger retail outlets that I used to sell my stuff to. So yeah, and then this is party ring, necklace, and then this is sort of one of my newer things, but I think because it's an ice cream, it's kind of, I'll show you that. And then also I used to sell a lot of, I sold all of them actually. Somebody bought a whole load for a hen party or a wedding. I used to make these little like ceramic cups. So I used to do little ceramic teacups, and so I used to love doing the miniature stuff. So this is one of the things as well. There's a little plate ring of stuff. Yeah, they were real ceramic plates and stuff. I suppose they were for dolls' houses. And then this used to be on a necklace. Little hot chocolate. Focus. Can never figure out my cycle in a mirror. Yeah, so I really used to love doing the miniature foods. I loved doing that. I loved making the jewellery out of miniature foods. So when I saw the BT21 Café items, I was so excited. I was like, I'm definitely going to do something. And then when I saw the Koya, it's called a parfait, but it kind of looks like a ice cream sundae. I'm not sure exactly what it's made out of, other than it's blueberry flavoured, and I love blueberries.
Blueberry. 누가 영어로 해야 돼? 형이 잘하잖아. 블루베리. 블루베리. 오케이. 블루베리. 오케이.
So I knew I had a load of these little glass domes, and the one glass dome that I had looked, if I turned it kind of upside down, it looked like the glass that the parfait was made in. I'll be honest though, I was making the jewellery with the little glass domes about 3 years ago, and I can't find the exact glass domes again, but I have found similar ones that will be amazing. So I've linked all of those down below. But yeah, these exact ones that they're kind of thinner at the top and then they're a bit bulbous down the bottom. I can't find these anywhere now. Yeah, big difference, aren't they? So yeah, so that glass, I was like, oh, I've got my little domes that look just like that glass, and I really want to make a little Koya. I suppose it's like a charm or a pendant or whatever you want to do with it, or ultimately, like if you don't want to wear it as jewellery, you just want it as like a little ornament. Don't put the pin in when we're going through the tutorial. So yeah, I'll do some better pictures of it. Yeah, and I'll put the pictures in so you can see it in a bit more detail than me just flashing it at the camera. So yeah, so it kind of combined the two things that I'd kind of enjoyed doing over the years. And yeah, made this. So I think it's super cute. It's turned out really well. I'm really happy with it. So yeah, that's it really. When I go through how to make it, I'll go through the materials and tools you need, but just ready. It's made with polymer clay. I use a glass dome to set all the polymer clay in because it can go in the oven and it won't be harmed. It'll be very hot when you take it out of the oven. But yeah, if you find a plastic one you want to use that cannot go in the oven, it will melt. So make sure it's whatever you put it in is something that can go in the oven safely. And won't melt or won't give off any fumes if it's like resin or acrylic or something. So that's why I use glass, because they're safe to put in the oven and cook with the clay inside. So yeah, so must use glass. And then also be careful, because it is glass, in case it breaks, please don't cut yourself. I know when I've had some of them delivered before and they've shattered, and I've had shards of glass stuck in my finger and stuff, and it's not fun. So I'll put a list of all the materials and things you need below. They're not actually that complicated materials, they're not that specialist, and also they're not that expensive. Like a little glass dome is sort of under £2 for a glass dome for the ones I found, so it works out quite cheap. So yeah, and you've got to use the oven to bake the clay. So if you're going to make the tutorial now, I recommend going to your oven and preheating it to 130 degrees Celsius, and then keep the oven on, because as we work through the layers, we put the piece in and out of the oven. So it goes in a total of 3 times in the oven, 10 minutes the first 2 times and 15 minutes the last time. So if you keep the oven on, you can pop it in and out of the oven. Be careful when it does come out of the oven, it is very, very hot. So please, please be careful. It does cool down quite quickly, so there's no need to really switch the oven off unless you want to give it that time. I find it easier just to keep the oven running and hot. And yeah, I think that's it, guys. Have fun making this. If you do make any of my crafts, please find me on Twitter at BTS Crafter, or Instagram, same at BTS Crafter, and yeah, show me what you're making. Yeah, so, and there'll be more crafts soon for sure. So yeah, good luck, guys. If you have any trouble with anything, or you want some more advice of what materials and things to use, just leave me a comment or send me a message, and I'm happy to help you out. So yeah, cool, have fun, guys. Hi guys, I want to do a bit of a disclaimer. The first portion of the actual tutorial didn't record properly. I think the cat who was being a nightmare on that day had jumped up and got in the way, and it just messed with the camera. So I'm having to do this again a few days later. So it's not going to be consistent, just so you know. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to do the first part of the tutorial again. And hopefully the cat will leave me alone from now on. So I'm going to go over what you'll need to finish Koya, who is by here. There he is. So we're going to start him again, and then the rest of it you'll see me doing the rest of him. So yeah, I'm not going to do it all again. I just can't be bothered. I'm sorry. So what I like to do, if you have a cutting mat like this, I find that we're going to be using polymer clay. I find that the polymer clay sticks a bit too much. and so you don't get like a smooth finish. So I like to use some baking paper or greaseproof paper or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to tape it down again like I did my first go, but this washi tape does not keep it in place. I think it's the waxiness of it. So I'm going to try and tape it a bit to my table. Maybe the glass will be a bit more sticky. I don't know, we'll see. But I've only got to show you the first bit anyway. But I kind of needed to go over this because this part of the tutorial is missing. So see, that's coming off already. My tutorials over the last week have definitely been a bit more nightmare than they have not nightmare. So anyways, the greaseproof paper, yeah, greaseproof paper stops any of the clay from sticking, especially if it's really soft clay, and because we're going to be rolling a lot. So yeah, so I recommend some greaseproof paper or some like a rubber mat or something, but not or even like the bare glass that I've got of my desktop, but not the cutting mat. I don't know, it just sticks to it. So here are the things that we're going to be using. A tray to bake the polymer clay in the oven. So I've got tray specific for polymer clay. I think it doesn't really matter so much with this whether it's like a really used tray for proper baking, because everything is going to be baked. It's not going to be baked raw, it's going to be baked in the little glass. The little glass dome or dish, I don't know whatever you want to call it. So yeah, so I'm going to go over the clays that we're going to need. If you have other clays and you can mix suitable colours or the colours you want, that's fine. These are the colours that I'm using. So I've got this Fimo. It's the first time I've used this Fimo Professional, and I've not found it any different to any of the other Fimos, I'll be honest with you. So this is in colour Champagne, and it's kind of a fleshy biscuity colour. This is kind of, I used to use a different brand of clay for my biscuit jewellery, but this is very similar to what I used to use for that. The one I used to use for my biscuit jewellery was Sharpie Primo, which I still prefer, but I can't seem to find that in any shops, and I don't need to stock up on polymer clay again like I used to. I used to get through tons and tons of the stuff every week. So yeah, so first layer is going to be this biscuity colour, which I've got Champagne, and then I've got a brown Fimo Soft. I prefer this over this Fimo Professional for sure, and this is actual chocolate coloured. There we go. And then we've got a white that we're going to use to make the cream, and then also mix the lighter blues for Koya. And then we've got a black, it's another one of the professionals again, and it is just the black colour. That is just white, normal white. And then I've got this blue Fimo for the middle bit and to blend to make Koya's colours. So, and this is called Pacific Blue, this specific one. But by all means get whatever suits you, that's fine. So tools, we're going to need some sort of blade. I've had this blade for like 15 years, I think. It's lasted me forever. I like this sort of blade because you get a really even slice of polymer clay, but whatever blade you've got, it doesn't need to be too sharp, but it does need to be kind of sharp so it cuts through the clay and doesn't smoosh it. I mean, this is pretty dented and knackered now, but it still cuts a nice clean line. And then I'm using these like little cocktail sticks. You can use wooden cocktail sticks if you get a pack, but I had these in some, sorry, I don't know if you could hear that, some sort of vehicle outside. It's one of those days today. It's been one of those weeks, to be honest. So I had these in some little cheesy nibbles over Christmas, and I was like, I definitely want these, and they also kind of look like doll's knitting needles. So I cleaned them up and stole them. They're really handy. And then you're going to need if I can pick it up, a jewellery eye pin. It's got the little, see, try and get it to, there we go, with the hoop at the top. If you've got wire and you can make your own with the hoop, there is a reason why we've got the little round hoop at the end, for us to anchor it into the piece later on. So one of those, and then this, while I was practicing, I just used some white clay and put some dents in that fit my little glass pieces, so we can pop them in the oven upright. So yeah, so just and then once it's been put in the first time and it's cooked, it can keep going in. It's pretty hard, this bit now, but it doesn't hurt to keep putting this bit in and out of the oven. You don't need to keep remaking a fresh soft holder. And so yeah, so I just blended some, conditioned some clay, sort of mooshed that around the top, so that it sits in, and then when we put it in the oven, it'll sit upright then. Okay. Move the tray until later. So to start with, we just want to be making the base layer, and as we make the layers, I can kind of show you Koya, which kind of helps. As we make the layers, we're going to pop them in the oven. So I think I've already said in the video, you can put your oven on to 130 degrees Celsius. So to do the first layer, we're going to use our champagne biscuit layer, biscuit clay. And then I just want to cut a slice. This doesn't need conditioning, these first two bits, because we're just going to be doing cubes and they can cut through fine. So there's the slice, it's about 1/2 centimetre, I think. And then I'm going to cut that off, and then I'm just going to cut 2 slices. Again, so we've got these 2 sticks like this, and then if we line them up, we can just cut little bits off. So you might want to alter the sizing of yours depending on how big your dome is, your little glass. Obviously if it's a bigger glass, then you want to make sure it's proportionate to fit that, and so you might want to make slightly bigger or slightly smaller little biscuit cubes. So we're just going to pop that in the bottom until we've got a decent layer, and we can use our little toothpick tool just to move any around, and also push them down a little bit so they're kind of compacted in there like this. Doesn't need to be terribly neat, that doesn't matter. And then we're going to do the same with the brown. I would try and make the brown a little bit bigger because they look a little bit bigger in the Sundae or the Parfait or whatever you want to call it. So I'm just going to do the same. I'm going to take a layer of that. I want them to be quite even. So I'm just going to cut down, have 2 lengths. like that. And then cut them into cubes. They don't have to be terribly neat. There's no science behind this. We're just trying to get the effect that we want of the 2 layers. As you can hear that the cat is back to cause some mischief. So use your finger to push everything down. If your finger doesn't fit, yeah, use the tool. I liked these ones because they've got this bigger round end and then also the pokey end. Okay, and there we are. That's our first round. It's not the neatest. All right, bugs. Probably wants feeding. Yeah, so that's that. That's going to go in the oven for 10 minutes at 130 degrees centigrade. I'll check the Fahrenheit and put all that in the here or below, just so you definitely know what to do, or use the instructions on the clay that you're using. The cat's having a mental, so I'm going to go put this in the oven and then link you guys back into the original tutorial that I'd done, which was going not very well, but was going better than this. Okay, so I have our piece out of the oven. It is really hot. The glass will be really hot, so please be careful. It does cool down, but please, you know, take the time in between, don't burn yourself. So yeah, so I'm going to pop that over there. And if you, it's not too bad at the moment, if you take it off, tape doesn't want to stick. Yeah, if you take it off the holder, it will cool down a bit quicker. So, okay. But it is, like, you know, you can see me touching it, but it's been out of the oven for a few minutes. And also, I don't have much feeling in my hands because of my MS, so I burn my hands all the time and don't realise. So please do not do do as I say, not as I do. So we'll go into prepare. Actually, we don't need these anymore, so I'm going to get rid of the black and the white. Put them back in their tubs. Right, okay. Sorry. So, going to get ready for the next bit now. What you want to do is just cut a bit of the... See, look, I've not cleaned the tool as well. I'm not as good as I was expecting to be at the tutorials. I just do completely the opposite of what I tell you to do. So actually that's quite clean. Just that bit's got some black there. Ugh, fine. Okay, right. So what you want to do is make sure it's nice and soft, because we want to smoosh it down in here a little bit. So make sure it's nice and soft. And then we're just going to make like a snake or a sausage. I don't know. I'm hearing that rude in my head.
I hate snake.
So yeah, so we want to, the clay stays a lot hotter for a lot longer than the glass does, so I kind of watered it off the glass so it does cool down, which I'll show it to you while it's set. That's quite warm, it's not hot, so it does cool down quite quickly. So that's our bits there, and then if I get, you can kind of see it's, if I get the angle right, it's not so smooshy. It's not quite baked long enough. It's not quite cured exactly, but it's cured enough to keep those bits in place and not to smoosh all together while we add the layers. So okay, so I showed her my picture of Koya, as I know that I'm definitely doing the right layer again. Okay. Okay, so we don't really need all of that. I'm just going to pull that off of there, and then what I want to do, try and get it so you can see, I want to run this sort of around the edge on top of the chocolate layer. So it's all the way around the edge. I don't know if you can see that. And then I'm going to take the toothpick. I'm going to clean it again actually. I've learnt my lesson already. I'm going to use the bally end bit, and I just want to kind of push it down so it's quite snug on top of the bottom layer. So just around, can you see? So it's just, get my angles, there we go. So I've just run it along the outside, and then I just want to kind of mould it around. Like so. And then I'm going to take another bit and do another layer on top. Just to make sure that there's enough in there. You see, I've just plonked it in, and I'm just going to layer it on top. And then the join is there, and if we kind of smoosh it down, there we go. So I want it smooshed against the edge of the glass. And like so. And then I'm going to just run this down. So it kind of looks like it's been piped in. I'm sure it would have been. Yeah, so like that. Gonna find the angles. Okay, now we're going to take some of our black and blue mix and do another snake. You can see sort of how thick I've made it. So yeah, and then we're just going to slice the end off And then if we just kind of take even little portions, like that. And then we take them off individually and roll them up. So we get a little blueberry ball. And then we're just going to pop them individually into the glass. And then, yeah. So then we're just going to kind of push it down so it's kind of attached and won't roll off anywhere. And then keep doing it. So if you drop it into the middle, you should be able to just move it around with your toothpick tool and just put it into place. We're gonna just evenly put them. Yep. Okay. Just gonna drop it in and kind of put them evenly around. Don't push too hard so they smoosh around everywhere. But we want them so that they just kind of bond with the white cream that we've just put in. Move this one over a bit. They should keep their shape roughly, so no worries on that. Oops. This one does not want to go in place. There we go. One short, maybe two short, I don't know, no, one short. Okay. The reason that I do the long thing and then cut them individually is because you tend to then get a uniform size as you go along, rather than just pulling bits off the main bit. Like that. They tend to be kind of random sizes then. So I don't know which is the one I just did. I think it's that one. So, or maybe no, it was this one. There we go. So as you can see now, I'm trying to show you what we've got. If the outside of the glass, like mine is getting a little bit scuffed, just wait until we finished and then we'll clean it. I find like a glasses cloth, I don't know if you use them, if you wear glasses, just like the little alcohol wipes, I find those the best. So this is now going to go back in the oven again at 130. You could have left your oven on, so it goes back in the oven for another 10 minutes just to set this, and then we'll put the next layer on. Good stuff, guys. Okay, so it is still hot, but in getting it from the oven to here, it has cooled down a little bit. I want to try if I can, my useless tape, pop it in there to keep it upright. There we go. To help it cool down a bit quicker. So yeah, so while that's doing, so next is a bright blue layer. So we can take some of our bright blue clay, a little bit more than that, start conditioning that. Ready. My blue is called Fimo Soft, but my other stuff had kind of gone a bit dry because I hadn't used it in a long time. Some of it I don't think I've used in like maybe 3 years, to be honest with you. So yeah, so that's it's still quite warm. It's more than lukewarm, but it's okay for my numb fingers to hold. So just be careful yourselves. Please don't burn yourselves. I'm really worried I'm going to make people burn themselves. So that's what we've got so far. Biscuit layer, chocolate layer, a cream layer, and some blueberries. Love blueberries. I also love how BTS say blueberries.
Blueberry, blueberry.
They're so cute. See the top? So if you wanted to, you could have put some more of the white clay on top of the brown in the middle, but you didn't need to. But it's all going to be hidden. So yeah. So this is now quite set. The first 2 layers that we did are quite set. So I'm going to do the same thing again, but I'm going to fill the middle this time as well. So try and get it in there. I think I've got far too much actually. I don't think I had enough. I think I got far too much. Okay. See, this stuff makes you blue pretty quickly. You see, this is also why the baby wipes are really handy, because you can keep wiping your hands without having to go and wash them all the time. Okay, so I've just kind of smooshed it in there, and then I'm going to use our little tool, whatever you're using, to kind of try and, it's a good job this is a bit softer. We want to try and smoosh it so it goes over the blueberries. Can you see? If my light is glaring on it as well. So yeah, so we've smooshed it over the blueberries. Try and get it kind of even. So yeah, that was quite easy. I might smoosh it down a bit more. To try and get it in the gaps, but trying not to. This is why the blueberries kind of needed pushing up against the glass, so that it doesn't go on the outside of the blueberry, but it's going down. If we hadn't been baking as we go along, then the white would just smoosh around. It would all just be a mess at the moment. So we're just kind of setting it as we go. Okay. Okay, I do want it to be, I want it to be a bit deeper? I want it to be a tiny, tiny bit deeper than that, the blue. So maybe I did have the right amount to begin with. So yeah, so I just want to flatten it so it's like, I want to see a coin. Not really a coin. So I'm just going to pop it in like this, there we go, and smoosh it down a bit more so it kind of blends together. I don't want to see the join particularly. we go. That's looking pretty good. Because the bottom is so solid now, we don't need to put it in the oven until our last bake now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean off my hands. So the wet wipes work really well if you kind of give your hands a scrub. Because we're going to do white next. We don't really want to be tainting the white with the blue. So yeah, and then I'm going to, so that's looking pretty blue. I'm going to get another one. Okay, and then make sure everything's clean. We're going to do another snake out of the white clay, and we're just going to do kind of quite a thin one around the top, not as thick as the blue one we've just done. I want to be leaving a bit at the top. Yeah. Sorry, trying to do it on camera because it's gone quite cold again. It is losing its conditioning quite easy. Okay, just gonna chop that off a bit and then see how we're doing for. Okay. So with this, I'll try and get it. Oh God, my angles and the camera are just useless. Right, there we go. So I'm going to try and twirl it in so it fills the middle this time. So it's not just around the outside. I've twirled it into the middle to keep it compacted. And then I'm just going to push down the edges so it's all against the glass. And yeah, don't push too hard, but you can, because obviously this is all pretty solid at the bottom now, so we're looking okay. There we go. I'm just going to push this in, kind of not right down the side, but kind of from there, just to give it a bit of so you can kind of see it. So it looks like it's kind of cream squirted on top of whatever that is. Don't know which part of this is parfait, whether it's that blue bit or whether it's the Koya on top. I don't know. So I want to try and make this top bit as well quite flat, because we're gonna pop Koya on in a minute. So there we go. So maybe covered up the blueberries a bit more than I would have liked with the smooshing, or maybe I should have put a few more blueberries in. Maybe that would have been quite nice. So yeah. Okay, so now I want to make our Koya to go on the top. So we've got our blues that we made earlier, while or whenever you made the blues. So we've got the two different colours. We've got one that's quite light, and then one that's a bit darker. And so to make, maybe a bit too big, I don't know. So to make the Koya head, measure it a bit. So you want it a little bit smaller. I think I want it a tiny bit smaller than that. We want it a bit smaller than the opening of the glass. And then we also want to make sure it's not a complete circle. We want it to be more of an oval. Does that make sense? Yep. And then we're going to take one of our pins, and we want the oval so it's kind of the widest part is sideways, so that'll be landscape, and then the thinner part of the oval will be the portrait, the up and down. Does that make sense? I'm not explaining it very well. I'm just going to push the pin up through the middle till you feel it, and then push it through. Okay, there we go. And now what we want to do is we want to take, so it's going to go like that. We're going to anchor it in. So I want to kind of mold it so that it's kind of, I don't know, just mold it to what Koya's head kind of looks like, but he's not completely round. He is kind of egg-shaped. So yeah, so like that. Okay, and then what we want to do is to give it the kind of ice creamy look. I think it's ice cream. To give it the kind of ice creamy look, we're just going to stab it with the pointy end of our tool, and we're going to stab like mad. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you squish it a little bit now, it'll still keep the pattern in it, but we'll just make sure that it is the shape we want it. So yeah. Okay, so now we're going to make Koya's ears, and to do that we want to take the darker of the blue clays that we made, and we're going to make two little balls, roughly the same size. It's looking pretty good. I quite often find that to make the same size of something, to make one ball and then cut it in half and then roll those two halves together, and then we're just going to flatten it a tiny bit, not much at all. Then we want to take some of the light again, a teeny tiny amount, like this amount, to the point where it's not even going to focus. There we go, teeny tiny amount, and then we're just going to pop that on the middle like so. This might be more difficult than getting the same teeny tiny amount. Pretty good. Pop it on the other one, and then you can flatten with your fingers, like so. That one's a bit rounder than this one. Try and get it round. Okay, and I'm going to take my blade and just flatten it a tiny bit more, so they're like this. I'm going to pop them off, and can you see? There we go. And then oops, and then the second one. Cool. Okay, so if we line them up, we just want to try and line them up evenly, and then we're just going to cut. You might see my head in the way now so I can see. So we're just going to cut. We want to take it from like just where it starts going into the lighter clay. We just want to take a little bit of that off the bottom. So we're left with 2 ears like this. Yep. Okay, and then we want to just take our tool. This is really awkward, but we just want to try and give it the same effect. So if you hold it down a little bit and just gonna give it the same effect and stand it up. Do the middle. There we go. And do the other side as well. So it's the same on all sides. Okay, and then we're going to give our Koya his first ear. And put it in the right place. And then I'm just going to go around with the tool and just kind of try and seal it down so it's not going to come off. And then we can just kind of go back in and give it our effect again. Okay. And we'll do the same with the other ear. Flatten that a bit, so I'm just going to scrooge it together a little bit, and then we'll try and get it on our Koya. Try and get them on as evenly as possible, and then I'm just going to go around and just gently try and seal around, and then just finish off where I've ripped some of the little marks off. Okay, there we go. Now for Koya's nose, I don't have purple clay, and sorry, that was a bit noisy. I don't have purple clay, but what I do have is a purple Sharpie. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a white nose on him, and then I'm going to colour it in purple Sharpie, because this is the same colour as Koya's nose. You can get a clay, I can't remember the colour, I'll try and find it out for you. You can get a clay that is very, very similar to the colour of Koya's nose. So yeah, so if you've got a clay, make a clay out of the colour of Koya's nose. If not, colour it in. And you can do that with a few of the parts actually, especially on Koya. I feel like if you want to make him completely out of white and then colour him in afterwards, I don't see a problem with that at all, if you have paints or whatever. So I've just taken a little bit of clay and made it into a little ball, and then I've just kind of made it egg shaped. Can you see? It's so tiny, sorry. Kind of made it egg shaped, and then I'm just going to pop it on, and I'm just seeing, just for placement and shape at the moment, yes, I think that's pretty good. And then I just want to kind of try and stand it up and take a slice off the back so it's flat. Just, I don't know if you can see, I just took a tiny bit off so it's got a flat edge. And then I'm just going to position him up again. Maybe a little bit lower. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of mold it on with my finger so it's kind of the size and shape of Koya's nose. So it's kind of egg shaped, kind of a bit bigger at the top. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's not a complete oval, I don't think. It's kind of, let's come down a little bit. It's a little tiny bit thinner at the top than at the bottom. Okay, so that's Koya's nose. So once we've baked our piece again, I'll colour it in with the Sharpie. So yeah, so now with Koya's nose and mouth, there's two ways we could do this. We could do the Sharpie thing again with a black Sharpie, which always makes me really nervous, or we can make eyes and a mouth out of black clay. So if I kind of show you on this piece how I would so yeah, so I would just literally draw on, I don't know if this is my good Sharpie. Draw on some eyes and then a little mouth. It's not quite the mouth, is it? Maybe like that. Anyway, so you can either draw on or you can go back to the black clay and make really thin pieces. So I was going to draw it on, but I've changed my mind. I need to find my black clay again. There it is. I'm going to just take a teeny tiny amount. Really don't need much at all. I like some that I've already conditioned. That'll do. Just a teeny tiny amount. Yeah, so that's my Tupperware that I keep some of my clay in. So yeah, and that'll keep it pretty good for a long time. Like I said, I think the white I've had about 3 years. And it's gone a bit hard, it's gone a bit brittle, a bit crumbly, but it's still able to be conditioned. So yeah, so that's 3 years in a Tupperware. Okay, so we've got a tiny bit of black clay. We want to make this a really thin snake this time. Really thin. Like as thin as we can possibly get it. The reason I want to do this as well is because Koya kind of sits and his mouth sits sort of within the glass. So it gets to a point where you can't make it any thinner anymore. I think I'm at that point with this part now. So get rid of you. And get rid of yous because we want to kind of I think I'll do. So I'm going to do the mouth first. Just seeing for size. I think it needs to be smaller than that. Koya's mouth is quite small. And I'm just going to pop it on top of the ball of my tool, or like the head of a pin, but obviously don't, you know, get yourself. So I want to get the curve like that. And then try and I'm going to take it off if I can. Very carefully. Right, there we go. Can you see? Teeny tiny Koya mouth. Sorry, I'm doing it off camera. Doing it really close to my eyes, that's why. Okay, so let's have a look. I think it needs to be closer to his nose. I'm just going to try and push it up without losing the curve. Yeah, Koya's mouth is it's quite close to his nose. Kind of follows the curve of his nose. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. So I'm just going to pat it down so that it's in place. Sorry, my light is glaring. Can you see? Yeah. If you do squish anything, you can just kind of try and get it back in shape. So now I want, am I doing this on camera still? Okay, so now we want 2 little pieces for Koya's eyes, and they're a tiny bit smaller than his mouth. So that's still too big. Okay. I'm going to try for this one. And if you kind of touch slightly with your tool, it will pick up the clay. Don't squish right into it, but just so it makes contact. And then Koya's eyes are kind of halfway down his nose and then to either side. I think I'm quite happy with that. Straight off. Moved it up a bit. Okay. Try and get it so my light. So it'll probably make that worse. Yeah, so I'm quite happy with that. And then we just want another one about the same size. It's too big again. Try and lay that on in the same place. That's a bit shorter. Right, let's do another one. This is a tiny bit longer. I'm going to take a tiny bit off the edge. About the same size. Try and put it in the same placement. Needs to come down slightly. Just kind of pat them both in place. I'm not totally happy with that, but I'm pretty happy with that right now. I feel like if I mess with it anymore, then it's just going to be messed up. So what we want to do now is where we've got the pin in, I want to push it through a little bit so it comes out the bottom. Because what I want to do is I want to find a nice part that I'm happy for the front to be. I'm thinking by there. So I'm going to put him towards the front and I'm going to push the pin inside so it anchors our Koya in. And then I don't want it Koya to be pushed inside so much that I can't, when it's set, colour his nose in. I want enough room to be able to do that. But yeah, so there we go. So that's what it'll be like. So because I used the pin with the eye, the back of him. Because I used the pin with the eye, it should anchor in quite well, so it won't pull out. If you want to wear it as a pendant or something like that. The one thing that is in the picture of the Parfait Dessert or Sundae, whatever you want to call it, is that weird green sprig, and I'm not going to do that because I think that's kind of weird looking. I don't know what the sprig is. It looks like rosemary or something. I don't know, I don't really know herbs that well. Kind of looks like rosemary. I'm going to push it in a tiny bit more. Push it in as far as you want. So yeah. So that is going to go into the oven for 20 minutes now this time, to set the rest of it and to set our Koya. So yeah, so 130 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes. Cool. Okay, so Koya's been in for 15 minutes. I've just taken him out. He's still a little bit warm. But yeah, so that's him. He's feeling pretty hard now. So yeah, you can see. Back in. Yeah, so I'm just going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to try and get it on camera, and then also not make a mess. So I'm just going to try and colour around. I find that these Sharpies kind of do dry a little bit lighter. Than the colour that seems to go on. I don't want to get it on the blue at all. Try and get it underneath. So yes, if you have a purple clay, feel free to make a purple clay nose for him. But yeah, I think just, you know, make whatever works for you. Just got it on his face. Okay. There we go. It might be on his face a little bit. So yes, this purple nose. Sorry, my light is really bright. Maybe that's a bit better. Less glary. So yeah, he's got his purple nose now. It will dry a bit lighter in colour. But yeah, that's our Koya. And then what I would do is take some round pliers, and you can just make this into a hoop. I've not done that very well, have I? So you can add it to a necklace or something. And then I've got a chain here as an example. To make him into a pendant, but you can also make him into a keyring. I would make this hoop a bit smaller to make him into a keyring so it doesn't unravel. But if you want any advice on how to set him onto, you know, different things, let me know, and I'll do my best to help. So yeah, let's try and get him. It's pretty good. Okay, thanks guys, have fun, and I'll see you for the next craft.